In today's video, I'm going to be showing you something. It's a design inspired by something that we use a lot in our kitchen. It is Simply Orange Juice, and so it's the bottle of Simply Orange, and by the way, the font for the Simply Orange logo is beautiful. I absolutely just loved painting it because it's all swoopy and pretty, and it just is, unlike most logos that have a really basic font, this one just has a little bit more pizzazz to it, so I really enjoyed that. So it's the bottle inverted over the nail with orange juice pouring over and a little cap off to the side. Like I said, we use this all the time in our kitchen. We make a lot of like orange sauces, and one of our favorite recipes is orange shrimp. I use this instead of fresh squeezed because it works, and it works really well, and it's a lot more convenient. So I was using it one day and I thought, you know what, this would be kind of a cool nail design. So here we are. I hope you guys love it as much as we do, and don't forget to click subscribe to see my future videos as well. So here we are, we're going to start out with an overlay of just a nude color acrylic, a cover pink, basically anything that's not going to be too distracting to the nail. If you weren't going to go with a cover pink like this, I'd probably go with an off-white or like a milky white or a shimmery white or just something really neutral. So we're going to just do a nice little overlay. This does not require encapsulation. In fact, I would personally never recommend encapsulating a cover pink because it would just dilute the pigment if it wasn't as thick. And then file the nail into shape with your e-file. And now we're going to take a nail form backing and we're going to start sculpting out the generalized shape if you were to take a slice out of the Simply Orange bottle. So you're kind of sculpting it. You know, you're not worrying about like how tall it is, how big you're building this up. It's just a very basic shape of this bottle, which is very distinct because it kind of flares at the top and then it narrows at the neck and then it becomes a square at like the belly of the bottle. So it's square around like the bulk of the bottle. And then when it gets to the neck, it transforms into a circular shape and it narrows and then it flares back out, staying in that circular shape. That is the challenge of this design, is getting that transition from square or cube, I guess, back into more of a cylinder and then to have it flare out. So after you have that, like I said, just a slice essentially sculpted out of it with your orange, whatever color you want to do for your orange juice, then you're going to really bulk up one side of it. So take that piece off of the nail form backing, hold it on something else so you can kind of see it from different angles. I really like to use these little nail tip holders. I put a little bit of poster putty on them and then I can stick the piece, whatever it is that I'm working on, onto the poster putty, and it holds it fairly well while I'm working on it. Occasionally, if your poster putty if it gets like a little wet on it or if it's too dusty, then it's not going to stick. And in that case, then you're probably going to want to toss that piece and get a new one. But it's really cheap to get poster putty or picture putty depending on where you're from. And I know that blue tack is another name for it. Different places have different names for it, but that sticky stuff that you use, that's what you want because it doesn't leave a residue. So after you have it all sculpted out and bulked out with orange, then you're going to want to apply a clear layer of acrylic over the whole thing because the bottle itself is going to have a clear layer around the orange juice. Then you're going to flip that over once it's been fully cured, it's been set up, it clicks when you tap your nails on it. And you're going to attach a little wire to the inside. So flip it over so it's the flat side now. Cover that wire with more of your orange acrylic. And then this is the tricky part. I wanted it to be somewhat open so that when you looked at it from the end that you could see into the bottle. So I tried to attach a straw to it. Straw didn't really want to stick too well. I did get it to stick eventually. Before I pressed it down though, I creased my straw, so I folded it in half. I pinched it so that it wasn't quite so big, and it's a smaller straw. Like I said, this is the weird part. This is the part that wasn't very easy, and the whole thing, this whole shape was just, I don't want to say difficult because that word has, you know, some people have certain associations with the word difficult. It's not that it was difficult. It was, I don't know, finicky, particular. It was something. But once you finally got it and you get that like square to round shape, it is so cool. And it is such like a victorious moment to finally get that shape down. So we're going to be sculpting the clear portion of our bottle around the straw. And the reason that we have the orange juice down the one side of it is because the bottle is going to be tipped on its side. So if you obviously, you know, if you look at a water bottle or a bottle of orange juice or whatever it is, and it's upright, all of the liquid is going to be in the bottom. And when you turn on the side, it's all going to be on one side. So that's why we're sculpting it kind of this way so that the orange juice is all on one side because the bottle is going to be tipped. Now, once that clear acrylic that you've sculpted around your straw has been fully cured again, you're going to twist the straw and yank it out of there. Back to the nail, we're just going to drill a little hole in it, and then we're going to attach the end of our wire into the hole that is made into the nail. I used a little bit of clear acrylic for that. Nail glue sometimes is my go-to for attaching a piece of wire into a nail in this way because I have a bunch of other of these pouring style designs. But lately I've just been less enthusiastic about using nail glue. more and more I'm getting more like, there's other options than nail glue. Sometimes that's kind of the best choice, but I don't know. In this one, clear acrylic actually seems to be quicker, for me at least. And then after you have that where the wire feels nice and tight and secure, you're going to take your orange acrylic again, and you're going to, it doesn't have to be pretty, you're going to cover up your wire. It can be kind of like sloppy looking or bumpy. It doesn't have to be smooth. You really just want to make sure that the wire is completely covered. Once you have a nice coat over the entire bit of wire going all the way down, then you're going to add different sections of drips on the wire, so it looks even more like it's pouring, like it's not just pouring in a nice stream, it's like gushing out of the bottle. So add little drips going all the way around on different sides. This is a design that you could potentially be viewing from any angle, so you want to make sure that you add drips to the front of the wire, sides, back, etc. Once you have and you've worked your way all the way down that piece of wire, then you can go through and add some, like the splatter of the orange juice that is on the nail. One thing that you can do, and sometimes I do this with gel polish instead of doing it with acrylic for pouring, making the liquid that's coming out, is if you do that, you might want to pre-sculpt some of the shapes if you wanted it to have that drippy look, because you could have done this with gel polish as far as the orange color goes. Then you would want to have a little bit more bulk built up on your wires. It wasn't so skinny. So sculpt it with clear acrylic first and then paint over with your gel polish color if you wanted it to have, if there's just a certain color of gel polish, you're like, you know what, that's exactly the orange juice shade that is in my refrigerator, then you could certainly do that. To make the little cap of the bottle, I'm going to take some nice dark green acrylic, sculpt it around the end of a straw, make it fairly thin. This is just to make the bottle cap, which is a step that you could skip. I really like the contrast of that dark green with the really bright orange, so I wanted to include the bottle cap. But like I said, if you wanted to skip this step, it wouldn't really hurt anything. So after you have that little bottle cap sculpted around, pull it off the straw, fill in the bottom of it on a nail form backing, and then attach it to the nail. Now going back to our little bottle that we've worked so hard on, if your shape wasn't beautiful from sculpting, you can certainly use a hand file or an e-file to perfect it. Then we're just going to take some white acrylic paint and we're going to paint the label on the top of the bottle. Might need 2 coats, might be good after 1. If you aren't an acrylic paint person, gel paint would be my next go-to. After that paint has been dried or cured if you're using a gel product, then I'm going to take some orange and I'm going to add a little banner going right across the top of the label. That is the place where you'd either write light pulp or you'd write no pulp. Actually, I think it's pulp free is the term that they used. Yeah, that's what I painted. I painted pulp free. And then with the orange paint, you're also going to want to paint your orange that's on the bottom of the label. Add some yellow to highlight it on one edge. Just really kind of swirl that in. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy. And then on the other side of it, add just the tiniest bit of red. Don't overdo the red. You don't want to end up looking red. You just want to deepen the orange ever so slightly. Very subtle. And then you're going to take your black paint and you're going to write the words, the Simply Orange. So for that label across the top, like I said, it's usually on the bottle it says, the level of pulp that's in it. If that is too small of writing, skip it. Nobody's gonna look and see, how much pulp is in your orange juice that's pouring over the nail. I did write pulp free more as just a joke because we know we never buy pulp free. The one we get is the one that's like, I don't know, maximum pulp or high pulp. I don't know what the term is. But Melody, my daughter, hates pulp. Like with a complete vengeance. She just cannot stand it. And so she won't drink homemade lemonade because it has pulp in it. And if she knew that this orange juice had pulp, and I don't think she cares, like she doesn't actually mind the feeling of it. It's just the concept of pulp she doesn't like. So if she knew our orange juice had pulp in it, she would be unimpressed because she does just drink this too on occasion. And so I just thought it would be really funny to put pulp free, even though that's not what we buy. But if you wanted to skip that step, certainly go ahead and not write anything in that orange little banner. It is written with white paint on top of the orange and you can't even hardly read it anyway. So it's just an extra step that if you wanted to, like I said, if you wanted to skip it, I don't think anybody would even notice. When you're painting the Simply Orange, you're painting it with black paint on top of white. The great thing with painting with black and white is that both colors typically are fairly pigmented. White, sometimes less so than black, but they usually pack a pretty good punch. And so if you mess up a letter, you can just paint over it and add, another coat of white over a black letter that got too big or too thick or whatever it is. And so if you need to, you never have to worry about going back and forth that way, which is one of my favorite things, and something that I find so reassuring when I'm painting anything is just the knowledge that you can go back through and fix something if, anything happens. Don't forget to add your little leaf on your orange. And then once that's done, the painting for this is done and you guys are in the home stretch. I'm going to apply some gel sealer over the top of the bottle, making sure that I really coat it well so that the clarity of the clear acrylic really shows through, and it does look like there is a partially filled bottle of orange juice that is being poured over the nail. And then I'm also going to apply that gel sealer over the top of the orange juice because liquids are typically relatively shiny or very shiny. I am not going to apply any top coat at all over the background of the nail just because it's just acrylic. It doesn't need the top coat. If you wanted to top coat it, you certainly could. I would go with a matte. And then I'm going to apply a 3D glaze over the bottle cap to give it a partial sheen, make it look satiny. And that is it. This is the end of this design. I will put a link to that orange shrimp recipe if you're curious in the description box below. It's from Martha Stewart. It's got just a few ingredients, but it is so good. My mom always requests it for her birthday. So it's a favorite around here. I hope you guys love this design, and I'll see you next time. Bye.